One of Donald Trump's top DOJ officials has suddenly quit. Her name is Gail Slater. She was the Assistant Attorney General for the Antitrust Division, meaning that she led the entire Antitrust Division within the Department of Justice. And she was specifically appointed by Donald Trump to go after big tech. That's what Donald Trump said in his social media post, which I'll read to you in a moment. He said, I want Slater. She's tough on big tech. Go after them, Slater. And Slater started to do that a little bit. I mean, she understood that Trump's buds were actually all big tech, but she did a few things, like she blocked a $14 billion merger between Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and Juniper Networks. And she was also starting to slow down some other big tech mergers. So big tech, which basically is living at Club Mar-a-Lago and funding the Golden Ballroom, and they're at Mar-a-Lago itself and the Club Rose Garden and all of these things. This is like well reported. It's well known. They call up Trump, big tech does, and says, you got to get rid of Slater. We hate her. She's the worst, and she's stopping us from engaging in antitrust violations. We're trying to run our monopolies here, price fix, price gouge, do all of the illegal stuff. And she's stopping us from doing that. Donald, what the hell? You want your Golden Ballroom? You want all of these things? You got to pay up. You know, you're giving these Binance guys pardons. You're doing all of this stuff. We need your help also. So Trump delivered, and he forced her out, and he started disparaging her and saying all these things about her. And then Gail Slater said the following on Friday: it is with great sadness and abiding hope that I leave my role as the Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust today. It was indeed the honor of a lifetime to serve in this role. Huge thanks to all who supported me this past year, most especially the men and women within the Justice Department Antitrust Division. But let's go back a year when she was appointed by Donald Trump. I mean, look, this is why you can't work for this guy. Like it's impossible. I mean, despite also he's a fascist and he's a sexual predator and he's a felon and he's a horrible human being. But this is what he posted as well. I'm pleased to nominate Gail Slater as Assistant Attorney General for the Antitrust Division at the Department of Justice. Big tech has run wild for years, stifling competition in our most innovative sector, and as we all know, using its market power to crack down on the rights of so many Americans, as well as those of little tech. I was proud to fight these abuses in my first term, and our Department of Justice's antitrust team will continue that work under Gail's leadership. Just pause there for a second. Obviously, I know Trump's a liar about everything that he says, but if you took away Trump and you took away the fact that he's a liar and a horrible human being, a lot of what he said there, I agree with. I want there to be strong antitrust enforcement under the Sherman Antitrust Act. I teach antitrust at law school. This is a good thing. We want people who are enforcing our antitrust laws fairly and faithfully. Trump goes on to say that Gail Slater previously served at the FTC and my National Economic Council, and most recently advising Vice President-elect J.D. Vance in his Senate office. Gail has also worked in the private sector, in media at Fox, and in the tech sector at Roku. In her new role, Gail will help ensure that our competition laws are enforced both vigorously and fairly with clear rules that facilitate rather than stifle the ingenuity of our greatest companies. Congratulations, Gail. Together we will make America competitive again. Say what you want about Trump. Let me be clear. That's a very normal statement right there, and a statement that I agree with. The thing, I don't like J.D. Vance, obviously, but I read this statement. I'm like, okay, that's what lots of presidents would actually say about the person who they appoint to that role. But then she's forced out. She suddenly resigns. She's being kind of mocked in the office, disparaged, isolated, and forced out. So she had to submit her resignation. And then here's what we're learning about. Here's the story from The Guardian. U.S. Antitrust Chief Gail Slater ousted from Trump Justice Department. Decision comes after Slater lost the support of J.D. Vance and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. You would think after Pam Bondi's horrific appearance before the House Judiciary Committee that she would lose, points with the Trump regime. Trump loved that appearance. For Donald Trump, she did amazing. It should tell you everything about Trump, that Pam Bondi disaster, catastrophe, 50,000 points, the stock market has gone up, 50. Trump loved that. And as she harmed the victims, Trump loved that. So Gail Slater, the head of the U.S. Justice Department's Antitrust Division, was forced out of the Trump regime after a turbulent tenure and months of simmering tensions with the senior cabinet officials. It is with great sadness that she's leaving, she writes. Her defenestration followed a strained relationship with Attorney General Pam Bondi, who reiterated to the White House in recent weeks the differences over the direction and management of the division were irrevocable. She lost the trust of J.D. Vance. So what happened? How did this all go down? The decision is a victory for Bondi and a clutch of Donald Trump lobbyists who started to grow increasingly frustrated with Slater last summer when she sought to block a $14 billion merger between Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and Juniper Networks, a cloud computing and software company. Supporters of Slater have portrayed her as an antitrust purist, deeply skeptical of Trump allies and lobbyists. But her skepticism of corporate mergers led critics to allege she was more interested in advancing her own agenda than the business-friendly stance of the administration. In the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise case, according to three people directly familiar with the episode, Slater opposed the deal because it potentially created a duopoly for cloud computing and wireless networking systems. A duopoly and monopoly, like these are the things that you want to have an antitrust person stopping. Like that was the right thing to do. I want to bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds podcast, at Talking Feds Substack. Harry, you and I have been chronicling on a weekly, sometimes twice a week basis, the mass resignations at the DOJ. We did a video that got over 1 million views on this channel about how 8,000 DOJ lawyers and staff have now left with real top positions. This antitrust position is a big position. You saw what Trump said he was looking for in the position. She seemed to deliver on what the requirements were. And then when she did, she got fired for doing what she thought that she was supposed to be doing. And she did it 50%, frankly, of what the job was supposed to be. And she still got fired for it. And people should know Harry had one of the top positions in the Washington, D.C. main justice office, as well as he was the top federal prosecutor in the Western District of Pennsylvania. So you know this position well, Harry. This is a bigger story than it's getting attention. I don't think it's really getting that much attention. It deserves more attention. That's why we're covering it.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. First, for starters, big job. Assistant Attorney General, that he was nominating her because it's a job that the Senate has to confirm, just like Deputy Attorney General or Attorney General. And antitrust is a signature initiative of any administration. Is it going to be aggressive? Is it going to be soft? But we're talking about there are offices all over the country. The AAG for antitrust, for panels and whatever happens in the future. This is the top person for antitrust enforcement. They'll work with people at the FTC, et cetera, but this is really where it's at. So for point one, big job. Point two, so Trump. It really is a sort of just another variation on a theme. And what is that theme? It's, somebody puts somebody in there and somebody writes a press release, but then somebody gets his ear at Mar-a-Lago, or maybe as he's walking here and there. We were told, there was a previous story a few months back that this really puts me in mind of, that there's all these sort of hovering like lobbyist types, like the court of a king in the 17th century, and they get 1 minute with him and he doesn't know anything about policy. He doesn't know what Gail Slater is doing. He doesn't know what the Sherman Act is. He knows that this guy, Bob, says, I want her out. And that is how he operates. He's incapable of thinking in sort of broad strokes, but he loves in either direction, right? What for Trump, he likes to, this is sort of the taco idea, make big proclamations and then dollop out exceptions. That's one way to increase his power. And then also in the other direction, say a certain thing, but somebody with certain power. There really does appear to be a permanent crew like stationed at the White House. They not long ago, San Francisco got a special break in the something having to do with the whole immigration initiative. That was just some some rich guy for a company who has his ear, and Trump loves to dole out favors. That's what matters more. Then finally, antitrust. How do you get crosswise with Pam Bondi or J.D. Vance? Nobody could get crosswise because of policy of civil rights division, but antitrust, that's big companies. Big companies, that's money. And money that gets the ear of these people. And so, you get in the door, you give a mouthful to Bondi, or you name it, J.D. Vance, and then the die is cast. That money really talks in the administration. More than it talks, it's sort of all there is. It's the only lingua franca. Can I be, can I talk some Roman today? Just kidding. It's so characteristic. Money, exceptions as opposed to policy. And then, of course, the most disloyal guy in the world. You try to think. I thought about this, Ben, as I've been wondering, okay, what's up with Stephen Miller, or when will the next when will Pam Bondi's head be on the guillotine? Has there ever been someone that Trump has been a steady, loyal supporter of? He is until he isn't. And then he is again. He brings them back, of course. Steve Bannon, who just outrageously had his conviction basically erased by this administration. But the guy is, you could say, retail only. He just doesn't know what anything about government policy, but he knows how to get tough on individuals and dole out favors to others. And Gail Slater is just the person who was in the way. And as you say, this has not been an aggressive antitrust administration. This is a pretty half measure of the things they've done. But the difference is somebody can then go grouse to Trump or Bondi, who also, want to be in bed with certain individual big corporate interests. And there you go. No more antitrust enforcement. Who knows what even happens going forward now? And as is always the case with his intemperate, capricious firings, who's ready to take the job knowing that they could be subject to the guillotines coming down any minute, and the message has to be, do nothing, and maybe you can save your skin.
The point is, too, there's nobody in this position now.
That's right.
There's no one who's leading the antitrust division of the Department of Justice, and there's no backup plan. Usually if something like this were to ever happen, again, regardless of what political party you are, Democratic administration, Republican administration, if someone leaving this top job, the top lawyer leaves, who has a big portfolio of cases, you're going to have to transition. Who's going to get the next files? How are these things going to be handled? There's usually a pretty big announcement. We'd expect Pam Bondi or Merrick Garland or someone who's the AG to address this. With so much happening in this regime, I know this news may not feel like, in normal times, this would be a gigantic front page story, at least in the Journal. Or a business newspaper, but now there's nobody there. And
look, there is, if I can say, there are deputies there who act, but in antitrust, you can't have a sort of, might even be perish the thought, a career person. When you have to do a big enforcement action or turn things down, you need muscle, stature, you need congressional confirmation. That really is, by the way, we think about will they get through or not. When you really are trying to push hard on something, it matters that the Senate confirms you to that job. So there'll be people there, but it'll be toothless, basically, especially because who the hell is going to do any direct? It doesn't even give a communication. Sometimes his nasty moves communicate like go really hard on ice or whatever. This is just, you can be there as long as somebody who happens to be hanging around and knows the president doesn't put a bug in his ear. They're completely, it's not simply that there's no one in the top job, but because of this capricious action, there's no direction. And antitrust, it takes cojones. I know I'm being many different languages today, but it really, that's a big, big thing. When I'm thinking about the action against Microsoft when I was at DOJ, and it really does represent the big time policies of the administration. Now we don't have any big time policies.
Everybody, make sure you subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel, Harry Litman's Substack, and Harry Litman's podcast. It's called Talking Feds. So as soon as this ends, go check out Talking Feds.
Thanks, Ben.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.